Good evening, all. I welcome you all in this webinar, this knowledge sharing platform. So first of all, I would like to thank you all for joining. Considering this is March end and everyone is busy and you're taking a peak time to understand what is exactly happening and developing in the market. So thank you so much for joining. I would like to thank Mr. Anurag Tripathi from NSDL for joining this session with us. So Catalyst has always been entering into these kind of endeavors where stakeholders can be kept updated, considering these new amendments in the regulations of debts. So in this connection, today we will be discussing on the DLT platform. So there will be first presentation on the circular, and then Mr. Anurag Tripathi will guide us through the platform, how the platform will look. So firstly, I'll start with the presentation. So I'll share the screen. Just let me know whether you're able to see the screen or not. So we able to see the screen?
Yes, Rakhi, it's visible.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with our session first with the circular, and second part will be the actual demonstration of the DLT platform. So the DLT platform is basically introduced by SEBI for security creation and covenant monitoring. So that is the primary objective of it. So let me just go through how I will be taking this presentation. So these are the steps where we are going through the introductions. So why this has been introduced. Second part is what will be the recorded in the on the DLT platform. Then we will go through the main contents of the circular. So what exactly, what information, when, how it will be updated in the system, those parts will be discussed. Then the timelines under the circular we will go through. So for each parameter, we have different timelines while updating the information and validating the information. And then we will understand and sum up the presentation. And after the presentation is over, we will be having a Q&A session. So let's go through the presentation first. So the introduction part of it, basically why SEBI came up with this kind of circular. The intention behind this circular is to strengthen the process in the market with respect to security creation, the asset cover maintenance, the covenant, different covenants which are there in the DTDs with respect to non-convertible securities. So SEBI came out with this circular on 13th of August 2021, but now it will come into effect from 1st April 2022. So in new financial year, we have a lot to do. So this SEBI circular basically came through the recommendations of working group. So SEBI specifically established a working group to understand how this DLT platform should work. In that, SEBI officials were involved, depositories were involved, stock exchanges, and few members from TAI, which is Trustees Association of India, were involved in this. So on the basis of all the parameters and recommendations, SEBI came out with this circular. But while going through this circular, we are required to read this circular along with few other circulars issued previously by SEBI. One of that is on 3rd of November 2020 with respect to creation of security and due diligence by the DTs. And second is monitoring and disclosure by DTs. So like we say, the DLT platform will, the intention is for creation of security and recording and maintaining. Same way, the reason for reading the circular along with two previous circulars is the same, because the creation and the monitoring circulars are separate. Now the applicability of this circular. So this circular is applicable for the listed issuances already in the market. Then issuers who are proposing to come out with the issuance, listed issuances in the market. This is also applicable to DTs, CRAs, RTAs, depositories. So all the intermediaries of SEBI is applicable. So any issuer who is already listed and coming out with the NCD issuances from 1st April, they're required to register certain things on the DLT platform. A new issuer who is proposing to list the NCDs on the exchanges, they are also required to go through this DLT platform. So I'll take you through the process of it. So this is the basic introduction, and now we will go through the circular part. So how the circular is framed. So circular is divided into 4 parts, and there are 3 separate annexures to the circular. So part A, which is about recording of information. So whatever information with respect to creation of a security, its asset cover, the covenants which you are going to mention, placement memorandums or prospectus, all the requirement information with respect to recording of the information is going to be covered in part A. How it is to be updated, when it is to be updated, all parameters are given in part A of the circular. Second part is basically periodical monitoring. So once the recording of the information is done, the platform and intention of SEBI doesn't stop till that. The intention is, of course, recording and then periodical monitoring of all those points which we have updated in the system. So part B will talk about the periodical monitoring, how it will happen through the system. Then part comes of financial covenants, which is interest and principal repayment. So how that will be monitored through the system, we will go through that. And a third, last part, which is part D, is credit rating information. So as we are aware, one of the parameters for the investors to invest in any of the issuances is credit rating. So credit rating will be monitored through this system. So to give effect to all these 4 points, there are 3 annexures specifically given to the circular. So we will in detail go through all of them. Will be try to very specific, and we will be considering in this presentation most of the part from the issuer side. So of course it is applicable to the intermediaries, but the role of an intermediary in the process is mostly of a validating and verifying kind of. So for issuer, the responsibility is more, where they have to update all this information, and therefore we will be concentrating first and mostly on the how the compliance is done by the issuers while coming out with the NCD. So for this, let's take an example. So if any new company who is coming out with the issuance also will understand the process of the platform. So if you are able to see on the screen, there is you have to go the clockwise presentation. So let's see, one private placement issuance is coming with respect to 100 crores, and there are 3-4 different ISINs in that. So every ISIN has to be mapped in the system for security creation. So for each security creation, you have to update. So for particular ISIN, what is the security? What type of securities will providing? What kind of charge it is? What is the value of that particular security which is being provided? So all that information is to be updated in the system for each particular ISIN. And for that updation, unique ID will be generated. Under the system, there is a maker checker system, which Mr. Anurag will in his next presentation will take us in detail. But for all the parameters, system has maker checker provisions. So once the security has been created and annexure has been given, comes, I think there is some issue with the audio.
Rakhi, you're audible.
Oh, okay. So the second part of this is of charge creation. Once the security creation is there, then there comes a part of charge creation. Document has been executed, so company is required to update the charge information. Just hold on a sec. I'll just mute for a second. Okay. So I think few of the people were not able to see the screen.
Rakhi, you're on mute.
Sorry, some of the people were not able to see the screen. That's why we took a break of 2 seconds. I'm so sorry for that. So with respect to after the charge creation, security creation comes the part of charge creation. So with respect to ROC, SARSAI, and now the information utility, all the charge creation related information is required to be updated in the system. Like charge creating documents also required to be updated on the system. So then comes a part of once a document has been created, there are certain covenants agreed by the issuers in the documents, which is private placement memorandum and the DTDs. So those covenants are required to be monitored. So first the issuer is required to update all the covenants, which is like what type of security, what will be the asset cover, if there is a change in board of directors, if there is some acceleration clause with respect to debenture redemption reserve. These kind of covenants are required to be updated in the system, and then through that its monitoring will happen. So I have kept mainly the covenants which is non-financial separately and financial separately. So once the covenant is there, that second part is financial monitoring. So financial covenants come with respect to interest and principal payments, due dates. So all the information, firstly with respect to what type of coupon rate will be there, what will be the frequency, when will the start dates are there, all this information is required to be updated in the system, and same will be monitored through the system. Additionally, if you see the redemption part, even though in financial monitoring we do cover redemption, I've kept a separate point as an redemption. So whenever the full redemption will happen of that security, that is required to be specifically updated. Reason being, each asset ID and each ISIN is linked to something, some assets of the issuer companies itself. So once it is redeemed properly in the system, that kind of assets will be available and free from the encumbrance. So comes the next part, satisfaction of the charge in the system. So once the redemption is done, satisfaction of the charge will also happen through the system. So in satisfaction of charge, there are different parameters again, which issuer is required to be updated in the system. Basically, no due certificates from the investor, ISIN extinguishment letter, auditor's certificate. So all this information will be updated in the system, and that's how the complete cycle will be completed on the DLT platform. Through on this will go to the main parameters of the circular. So this is the basic parameters which we are looking into for the in the circular. I'll go to the next slide. So this is the part A. Like in the first slides, we have understood there are 4 different parameters we have in the circular. In that, part A plays a very vital role, considering all the information is going to be recorded on through these parameters. So part A consists of 5 different elements, basically from the security creation. So for each ISIN, issuer is required to create a separate security. If for particular ISIN, issuer is want to provide multiple securities, that kind of option is also provided in the system. Mr. Anurag in his presentation will give us how the multiple assets will be included in the system, but those parameters are already included in the system. For one ISIN, issuer can provide multiple assets. Then again, like we understood in the cycle of the issuance, in the same parameter, this annexure has been prepared by the SEBI. So once the assets are updated, debenture trustee will verify them, validate them. If the debenture trustee finds some discrepancy in the asset value of the asset, it will go back to the issuer, and issuer is required to update that again. Then comes the recording of the charge. Again, once the security has been executed, all the necessary document, charge creation, like ROC certificates, challan, all that information is required to be updated on the system. Modification of charge. So when modification of charge, the concept will come. If there is some reduction in the ISN, let's say in out of 4 ISN, there is a one particular ISN whose redemption is happening every year. So considering all the assets are be specifically mapped in the system, those are required to be modified to have a correct value or which assets are free. To understand that, the modification of charge is also considered in the system. So whenever there are certain modifications or any additional securities to be given in certain cases for particular ISN, such modifications can be also done through the system itself. Periodically, the asset cover. So like we understood, the one part is recording of information, second is monitoring. In monitoring, what regulator envisages is we are required to see what is the asset cover at the time of issue, and same is maintained through the system and recorded through the system till the redemption of the issue. And the covenant system, again, the covenants like we discussed in the earlier slide with respect to financial and non-financial will be updated in the system and monitored through the system itself. So all the parameters will now be checked through the DLT platform. I have specifically segregated few annexures, so 3 annexures which are there in the circular. In that, annexure 1A1 and A2 are regarding the record of the information, which is security creation. So while updating information with respect to assets in the DLT system, how it is segregated as per the circular. So first, it is covered in what type of security is to be given. So it is immovable, movable, receivables, fixed asset, all that type of security is to be mentioned, and the nature of security. So basically, whether it is encumbered, non-encumbered, all that information is first parameter to update with respect to assets. Second part is relating to how the security is being offered. So whatever security offered for that particular ISN, then how it will be monitored, that particular description of that asset is to be provided by the issuers. Second part, value of that particular asset is to be provided. Then to support all this information which is updated by the issuers in the system, certain documents like valuation report, if there is some previous encumbrance on the asset, then no due certificates or no objection certificates from the existing creditors are required to be updated in the system. Parameter 2 in the first paragraph, recording of information and monitoring, comes is with respect to interest and principal and the charge creation. So once the information is updated, then comes in charge creation. In charge creation, again, all the information with respect to charge creation, like all the documents through which charge has been created, like mortgage deed, hypothecation deed, all that information, and the registration with the ROC, sub-registrar, SARSAI, information utility under IBC, all that information is to be placed in the system. Now, system will map the unique IDs for the asset and charge ID. So it is done through the system. So if there are multiple entries, system will map accordingly. So therefore, there is a specific unique ID for each ISIN's security created by the system. So again, once the information is updated, if there is a change, modification, same also will be done through the system itself. So basically now there are different depositories also. So whether issuer is required to update the same information on each depository's platform. So depositories are facilitating that the information is, with respect to particular ISN is provided on one depository, same can be linked through the system and multiple and duplication of work can be reduced. Now I will take you to the most important part of the circular, which is the timelines part. So these are the timelines for the issuers to update the information. So we will go to the particulars and the timelines of it. The point numbers I have provided just for the information when you will go back and go through the circulars and want to point out, okay, where is the timeline? So the point numbers from the circulars have been provided here. So the timelines are very specific and has to be followed. If any issuer wants to come out with the issue in this financial year, all these timelines are to be considered and accordingly it is required to be planned. So particular assets, ISIN's assets and asset cover, type of asset is to be given. All this information is required to be updated in the system before creation of a temporary ISN or ISN depending on the issue. Again, once the assets information is updated by the issuer, same will be verified by the debenture trustees. If there is some discrepancy or some additional information is required by the debenture trustee, then debenture trustee will update the information and issuer is also required to modify the information. All this again has to be done before initiation of issuance of ISN. Then comes the ROC part. ROC surcharge charge creation is to be updated in the system promptly. So reason promptly is the due diligence with respect to the circulars are to be provided by debenture trustees. For that, the debenture trustees now will download the information updated by the issuer in the system and then accordingly provide Annexure B. Such Annexure B is also required to be updated by the issuers in the system. So stock exchanges can download that information or can see that information. If there is some modification in the asset detail is required to be done by the issuers, then they are required to come to DT, take their approvals, and then only make the changes in the asset provided. So once the modification in the assets is done or charge is done, it is to be promptly updated in the system. Asset cover details are to be filed again at the time of creation of a temporary ISN. And for covenant monitoring or entering into all the covenants, financial, non-financial related information in the system is required to be done within 5 days from the execution of DTD. So these timelines are very important from the viewpoint of issuers. So there are timelines which are similar to this to the other intermediaries as well, but considering this focus of this presentation is mostly for the issuers so who are intending to come out with the issue in the April. So all the timelines are covered of the issuers only. So once the issue is in place, the monitoring part starts. For monitoring also, there are certain timelines provided in the circular. So all the information like half yearly report certificate which is submitted by statutory auditor to issuer is required to be updated in the system. So the timeline is same as provided in the LODR, which is 45 days or 60 days as applicable. And then DTs are also required to do some due diligence as per November 12 circular. So for that also, whatever information will be required by debenture trustees is also required to be updated by issuers in the system only. That is to be done periodically and promptly by the issuers. Now, now I'll take you to the important part, which is financial covenants. So financial covenant main concern is with respect to interest and principal. That is also divided into two parts: information which is required to be updated at the time of issuance and the continuous monitoring. So when issuers are creating an ISIN in the system, at that time itself, issuers are required to first update the information how the interest payment will happen, and how the principal payment will occur. If there is any put call option dates, how it can be exercised if there is some acceleration payment date. So all that information, what is the coupon rate, all this information is to be updated at the time of creation of the ISIN by the issuers. And then comes the monitoring part. So if the frequency is monthly, quarterly, accordingly, system will generate the dates, and after the due date, payment status is required to be updated in the system. And again, for this, the important part is timeline. So what are the timelines to do all these activities? So for updating information, which is at the time of issuance, what is the basic rate, what are the due days, is to be done by the issuers at the time of creation of ISIN or temporary ISIN. Then next, which is monitoring part, a status of payments is to be updated within 1 working day by the issuers. Once the payment is done, final redemption happens, a release of charge, like we said, seen in the circle. First part is redemption, then we have done the satisfaction or charge, and once the charge has been satisfied, like has been considered as a release of a charge from the system. So that information after the redemption of the issuance, for release of charge or for initiating the release of charge process, issuers are required to update information in the system, like no due certificates from debenture holders, extinguishment letter, etc. And the further timelines, like we understood in the initial stage itself, which is with respect to investors, from looking from the investors' point of view, credit rating is one of the primary objective for them, or primary parameter which investors see while subscribing to the issue. So considering that, what is a rating provided to that particular ISIN, the entire information is in the system is captured on ISIN basis. So whatever credit rating is provided to that particular ISIN is required to be updated in the system. So such information should include the ISIN press release date and hyperlink of such press release. And this again information is to be updated at the time of creation of the security temporary ISIN itself. Again, this will be validated or verified by the CRAs. If there is some discrepancy, whatever the information is updated in the system, then such discrepancy is required to be removed, or correct information is required to be updated within 3 working days. That is to be again done by the issuer or CRA. And in future, if there is some change in the rating during the tenure of the particular ISIN, such change, such revision is also required to be updated in the system with respect to, again, same, what is the rating outlook, what is the press release date, the hyperlink of the same, and that is to be done within 1 working day. Same, whatever the subsequent information is updated by the issuers will be verified by the CRAs, and then such information can be updated by issuers or CRAs within 2 working days. So these are the basic parameters for us. And then let's sum up this presentation with few understandings with respect to why SEBI came out with this circular. So basically giving a common platform for all the stakeholders and easy exchange of the information between issuers, intermediaries. So that is the primary objective of this circular. So these are the parameters. We will take, I have kept a question and answer session after this presentation, but let's go through the DLT platform as well first, and then we will take the question and answers together. So we will go, now we are having basic understanding of what is the circular. Once we understand the platform also, we will have a question and answer session. So now I'll request Mr. Anurag Tripathi from NSDL to take care and take over the platform, and let us go through the platform.
Thank you, Rakhi. So before taking everyone to move ahead with the demo of the platform, first we would like to provide a date or inform all the issuers that we are going in a phase-wise approach with the release of the platform. On April 1, we are releasing first phase, wherein we only provide the info, or the module will only cover the asset creation, asset creation module, then mapping that asset to the debenture, then updating debenture information if any, then but then this will go, the whole information will go to the DT for due diligence. DT will do its due diligence and upload all the required reports like valuation report, title search report, and income search report, and issue annexure A. Post issuance of annexure A, charge will be created offline by signing an agreement between the issuer and the DT. Once the charge is created, like charge is signed offline, then issuer has to update that information into the system and send it to DT for verification. DT will verify and confirms. Then, as you know, that there are 30 days, then annexure B will be issued. Post annexure B issuance, within 30 days, it should be filed with the ROC, SARSAI, and NESL. So that updation will be done by the DT on the platform. Plus, we are also releasing the interest payment redemption payment module on April 1. So this is what will be released on April 1. And the rest, all the modules related to, say, covenant monitoring, periodic due diligence, closure of charge, that will be released in a, say, within a time frame, and we are expected to go live with the full system by June 30th. So this is what we have communicated to SEBI, and this is what we are adhering to make the system available. On April 1, we are only expecting secured debentures to be added into the system, not a secured one, but there are certain modules will be applicable for the secured and certain modules will be applicable for secured debentures. In the case of, say, if we look at the different modules which will be covered under the system, will be mostly on the, say, asset creation, mapping of asset with the ISIN, and due diligence, post due diligence, submission of search report, title search report, valuation report, issuance of annexure A, submission of charge by the issuer, confirmed by DT, then approval by DT, then issuance of annexure B, the recording of charge by DT to system. After that, the CRA updates cash flow event. The cash flow event will also go live, but apart from that, the CRA update will go live later. As of now, we are mapping the corporate bond, the information which is available on the corporate bond database, where the CRAs update the ratings will be flown into the system as part of the updation of the credit rating related to the said ISIN. And then later on, the DT change processes, asset replacement process, closure of charge, and covenant monitoring and periodic due diligence. This all will go live later on during the, say, May and June. So these are different modules which will be made available to the issuer. Apart from this, if you look at the, say, secured debentures, for secured debenture, most of the modules will be used. But for the unsecured debentures, only limited modules will be used. One will be your cash flow monitoring, and second will be your covenant monitoring. This primarily two modules which we foresee as a mostly used by the issuers. And from April 1, whatever secured debenture will be issued by the issuer will be covered under this platform. And SEBI is also looking towards of allowing or providing a time frame to the issuer to update the legacy license into the system, wherein I believe in the next 3 to 6 months they will provide time to the issuers so that they can add all the information pertaining to the legacy license, that is license which are active as of now with the issuers. And these will only, this platform will only cover the listed ISINs, not the unlisted ones. So it's only listed ISINs that will be covered on the platform itself. Now I will take you through the system. Can you be able to see my platform?
Yes, Anuragji, it's visible.
Yeah. So this will be the main page. What we have done is we NSDL has a single platform policy where NSDL has launched issuer portal platform, which is rolled out to all the issuers, which covers various say functionality and service provided by the NSDL to the issuer, which includes your joining of unlisted companies, This includes your commercial paper platform. This includes your EBV platform and many more services which are in future will be offered to the issuers. Apart from that, if currently the issuer, maker and checker will be the kind of access which is provided to the issuer, where all the checkers will have to use a DSC based login and maker will be getting a password or OTP based login to use. And if we look at how it will work, and you have to we will be say in the next week. I think in the next 2 days, we are releasing the onboarding documentation to the all the issuers to get registered on the portal and start using it. Plus, we will be also releasing a module for the ISIN generation for debt instruments in the next 2-3 days. So where the issuer can also apply for ISIN to the NHG via the same platform. So you will get the same access provided for the COVID monitoring platform as well as your ISIN module. Yeah. So this will be the kind of platform which will be offered to the issuer. Once you click on the COVID monitoring tab, you will see a dashboard wherein you will see active debentures which are already, say, for which annexure B is issued, and pending request for which it's under process, and it is in the various stages of at the issuer end or a DT end that will be shown it here. Then if you can further go down, you can see a kind of tabs which will show the active debentures, and that will show the description of the ISINs and upcoming compliances which are coming up. If you click on the say ISIN, it will show you again the details of the ISINs provided in the system, plus credit rating, which includes your current rating as well as existing ratings. Then compliance details, asset cover, cash flow schedule, upcoming cash flow schedule. So asset cover will show the current assets which are mapped with the ISIN, and cash flow schedule will show your complete cash flow details, wherein it will be shown which are currently going to like future cash flows, and for the past cash flow it will show the what's action taken on the past on the cash flow which is past which was in the say in the past time period where you have already made the payment, and those things are updated into the system. And upcoming cash flow will show you the cash flow which are coming in the say next quarter or next month based upon the periodicity of the debenture. So now we will move to the transact, where you have to create a new asset into the system. Just a minute. So you will just create on the asset. You will select the existing assets which are there in your balance sheet. You can select the date on which date this asset is created. So it is also 28th, or you can take a previous day based upon the availability of information. Asset type, say if you want to create an asset, whether it's a movable property, movable fixed asset, current asset, financial asset, guarantee, tangible assets, and other assets which are not say covered into the system. What we have done is for against each asset type, we have created a various subtype. For example, against immovable property, we have created residential, commercial, industrial, and agriculture as a 4 subtype. And if you say click on residential, you can get the nature of asset, that is individual or group asset. That means either you can map that asset at an individual property level, or you can map that asset on a group at a group level asset. That means you will just pool asset together and create a one asset addition into the system. What we have done in consultation with the SEBI and the trustee, we have defined for which assets the assets will be covered, whether as a group level asset or individual level asset. That guidance will provide to you as part of our user manual and operating guidelines, that these assets will be covered either as individual or group assets. Then you have to add whether short name, asset description, whether it's negative lien on the asset, yes, no. For example, I will just add it here. Say it's individual assets, asset short name. I will write say Piramal Towers. So any negative lien has been put on asset or not? If yes, you have to say yes. If no, it should say specify it as no. Then we have to specify the property type. It's a flat house plot. I will just make it a commercial. Sorry. So nature of asset as a individual asset short name, number, tower. Event floor one. Negative lien as a no. Property type as a office. Say area property as it 10,000 and it is in square meter. And here you have to specify whether you have a code specified in the ERP system, internal ERP system. That could be your accounting system, internal accounting system, or ERP, whichever you are using. If yes, then you have to provide the code in the ERP system, code description ERP, and remarks. And say if you don't have an ERP or accounting system, you will say no, and you will say not applicable. You will move ahead. Then you have to specify code in FAR. That is FAR is fixed asset register, where you will say code in FAR is yes, and then code in FAR you will say 1289 as a code in FAR, code description. And you will add remarks if required, or if not required, you can say NA. Details of tenancy lease license. If it's owned by you, then it's fine. If not, then you will just say, if it's not applicable, then you can say NA. And if it says you are taking it on lease, then you have to provide the lease details of the said property. Then here you have to write asset ownership details. That is whether the asset is owned by you or subsidiary company, holding company, associate company, or any other. So you will say self. You will write your asset owner name, say ABC Limited, ISO country code IN. If the asset is based out of India, you have to set ISO country code IN. If the asset is based out of say overseas, then you have to write the ISO country code of that country and the stamp. If it is say ISO country code of not of India, then your tax identification number will get activated. I'll write it as US. Then you can see LEI number is already activated. PAN will get deactivated because PAN is not applicable in the US. And tax identification number get activated. So you have to write the tax identification number applicable in the said country. So what I will do, say India IN, then LEI number I have to update. Just a minute. I'll just delete LEI number. I will just add LEI number here. I will add PAN. I'm going to select type of ownership, whether ownership is freehold, leasehold. I will say freehold, example, and then I will just move ahead with the asset address. So here property ID will be any ID which is issued by the government for the said property. So you can just write a property ID here, asset address. Then you have to write the latitude, longitude here. So this will be based upon the same way with the way you update into the MCA system. You have to update the latitude, longitude exactly the same way. I will say 40° north. It will be exact based upon you have to drill down to the say at a gradient level and update it here. So just hypothetical number, I will just put it here. Then you have to write the value asset valuation amount. So valuation agency, if you've done valuation, otherwise you can itself. You can do valuation date. So date will be either you have to specify on which date this valuation has been done. It could be December 31st as a quarter end, or you have done the recent valuation of that asset. I will just say 1st March. And the valuation as per balance sheet, what for the same asset, what value the balance sheet is stating, you can write the same thing here. I will just copy and just be the same data here, but you can, if there is a different value available from the specified in the balance sheet versus the valuation you have done say recently for the said asset, you can update it accordingly. Insurance number for the said property. If, amount, but insurance amount, type of cover, property insurance, beneficiary name, what is ABC Limited, and the date from which the policy is activated from date to date. So after this, you have to specify whether the asset is encumbered or unencumbered. So if it is unencumbered, you will just click it and move ahead. And if it's encumbered, you will click on the encumbered and you have to add the details of the charge holders, charges created on the said asset. So write the charge holder name, charge holder PAN, charge ID number, type of financing, charge amount, charge holder NOC. You have to say yes. If there is NOC provided by the charge holder, you have to say yes. And nature of charge you have to add, and then you have to save it accordingly. You have to add the list of charges created on said asset into the system. I will just say unencumbered and I will just move it. So here you will get a list of document that will be needs to be updated into the system for the property. I will just say you can add multiple documents here. And that is you're free to choose what documents you want to provide to the DT for the due diligence purpose. That needs to be updated here, which includes ownership document and competencies document, as well as insurance document is required to be provided to the DT. You can provide it on the system. Plus NOC from the existing charge holders that also can be added on the platform itself. So I will just take a sample basis of document. Just a minute. So for seeing where I have left last time, just I will go in the inquiry amendment, click on view asset and just click on the asset ID where we have specified as an asset pyramid tower. I will just click it and I'm come on the same page where I have left. So I will just add the ownership document here. Add a document and just save. Just a minute, it's updating it. So file has been uploaded successfully. This will show the asset number and association document, which has specified the document type and the random number to save the file. I will just click on the save, and I will come on the preview page. This page will show the complete details filled by me for that asset, along with the document below. Okay, so I will do just save, and the asset creation request successfully submitted to checker with asset ID this. So in my system, asset details has been saved along the documents, and then the same request has been sent to the issuer checker for review and approval. I will just say close here, and I will just do the login on the issuer checker. Just a minute. So I'm logged in. So I can just go in the inquiry and approve. Just click on approve new asset. I can see forward action tab where I have to act on the request received, and forward information means that will show on which I've already acted. I will click on forward action tab. I will just select the latest one which has been submitted by the issuer maker, which is Piramidi Tower asset. We'll click on it. This will show the complete picture of the asset, entered details of which has been entered by the issuer maker. I will review it. I will check the documentation submitted by the issuer maker into the system, and I will approve. So once the asset is approved, asset creation request is approved by the checker with asset ID this. So now my asset has been created into the system. Now the issuer maker has to do, issuer maker has to map that asset with the ISIN for which you are providing the asset to say raise the funds for the bond issuance. So I will just map one ISIN on the platform. I will just select one ISIN and I will just do tab. I will do search. When I do search, I will either by way of ISIN or even I just do a search, I can get a list of ISIN which are linked into the system. So this will be those ISIN which are issued on April 1 or after April 1 for the secured debentures will be mapped here. So I will just click on the ISIN and I will just do save and next. Map asset for debenture INA. This. So I will just do click here on the edit. Just a minute. So I will take the asset ID and I will enter asset ID here. Then once you do the tab, everything will comes up on the screen. Then you will do a save and next. Already used. Sorry, on the same ISIN, I think ISIN was mapped, so I'm bringing different ISIN here. I will do save and next. Five. Just a minute. I think, sorry, just for this asset is mapped with the same license. So I have to check on the one. So for 63, I will select this ISIN and I will try to map that asset. Just a minute. Just copy that asset ID. I will click here. I will add asset ID here. Just to the tab and I will do save and next. So once you do the save and next, asset will be mapped with the said ISIN. I will just do save and add. So now the ISIN is mapped with the asset on the system, and it will go to the DT for it will go to the issuer checker for approval. So now from the login from approve map asset to debenture, I will go to the issuer checker. I will see the request coming in from the issuer maker. I will just click on the ISIN. I will see the details of the ISIN and the assets mapped with the ISIN. I will found it okay. I will just approve it. So assets link creation request submitted to DT with linkage ID. This. So now this request of asset along with the ISIN has been submitted to DT for the due diligence purpose. So I will just do the close and I will just go into the DT login. Just a minute. So I do the login of a DT maker. We'll go into platform. I will.
Anurag,
Yeah.
Rakhi here.
Rakhi.
Um,
Rakhi.
Mainly, the intention of this is for the issuers to know their login. So
Okay,
it's
fine.
required for
So,
DT's login to be shown to the issuers. I think that is
okay,
for
fine. So what we'll do is
issuers.
that the issuer will approve it and issuer will submit. They said valuation report, your search report, and title search report into system, and send to the DT. So DT will do the again verification and generate annexure A. Okay, and that can be sent to the exchange by downloading by the DT and the issuer. So that is that part is done. Then your submission of charge will be the next say step, where issuer, what will do, issuer will just submit the charge which has been created into the system. So for example, this is a asset which has been provided as a collateral to the DT for a due diligence purpose. Once that is done, then issuer will just click on submission of charge and just move save next, and then issuer will enter the charge holder name, which is say in your case is Catalyst Trustee, your PAN number, charge ID number, type of financing, charge amount, date of charge creation, say today, charge holder NOCs, if any is submitted by the issuer earlier, it will say yes or it will say no. If it's exclusive charge, say no. Charge type, so exclusive charge. I will fill all the details and I will do save and next. I will add the document, the application, and just I will add the documents which has been signed by the issuer and DT together, and then do save. The file is uploaded successfully, and I can see the complete details here along with the details filed, the filled, and the documents submitted. I will do save and next, and this is submitted to the issuer checker for the approval. So I will just click on the request received from the issuer maker. As an issuer checker, I will check all the details submitted is correct, check the documents submitted, find it fine, and then I will approve it. It's processing. So once this is approved, it will go to the
Anurag, your mic is mute. So.
oh, sorry. So once the issuer maker is submitted the charge record, it will come to the issuer checker, If you just Shikhar will just click on the asset linkage ID, you will just check all the details, and I will do save next. Just a minute. I think it's a different. Just a second. So trash excess charge should not be more than the set value. Sorry, I have to just reduce a 0 here. This is validation in the system which will not allow you to create a charge more than your asset value. We'll just go ahead and select some other asset. I think, sorry, this asset been used many times, so I believe it is not taking it up. Sorry, we have taken the asset was charged earlier also, so we don't have much value left. So we can say charge amount is 10 rupees for that asset because there is a negligible residual value left is very low. And I will enter all the details pertaining to the charge that has been created on that asset. I will do save next. I will just select a document and upload it here and do save. This is uploading in just a minute. So your document is uploaded here. So once you do the save, it will show you the complete picture of the details entered and the documents submitted. I will do save next, and it has been submitted to the issuer checker for the review and approval. So I will just go on the issuer checker login. I will just check the latest information received. And I have received this information along with documents. I have checked and found it correct. I will approve it. And post approval, this will go to the remaining trustee for further say verification. Once it is verified with the DT, annexure B will be generated via system, and you can download and send it to the stock exchange. Then once this is done, then there is the concept of approved record charge. But that is currently what we are doing. We are currently being activating it into the DT login, where when the charge is recorded to the NESL CERSAI ROC, the DT can itself upload that information into the system and confirms it. So this is all about the user flow for the creation of the asset, mapping of asset with the debenture, the due diligence process, updation of all the required files and information pertaining to the due diligence, issuance of annexure A, record of charge, charge creation into the system, and then issuance of annexure B. So here your process will get completed and you will get your ISIN listed into the stock exchange. Apart from this, what we have done is we have also activated the cash flow event. That is, we will have to enter the information pertaining to the, just a minute, here, the issuer maker login. So where you have to enter the information pertaining to the interest or redemption as applicable for the particular ISIN. Those information needs to be entered into the system, and that will be sent to the DT for further verification and approval. So here you have to upload the information of interest payment which you have made, plus you will have to add the file which has been used for the payment of the particular interest. Say, for example, you have to upload the bank statement or a file showing that the interest has been paid to the said investors, along with the list of investors and their holdings to which you have made the payment, so that the DT can cross-verify whether the total interest paid by you is correct or not. And also DT has to verify, has the responsibility of verifying in the bank whether the payment has been made. And then post-verification, DT has to submit into the system. I think that is not yet. My login is not in mapped, so sorry for it. So I will just show you how it will look like. So I will. I think there's some. This is in UAT. I think it's not coming up. So that will. So this will show. It will show like this. Like it will show that whether you have been submitted the interest payment details to the issuer. That will come into the follow information once you submit it to the issuer checker, and further approval from the issuer checker. This will be shown to the DT maker for further verification approval. So this is what is going live on day one, which you can reach out to us to get the ID activated. We will be sending a circular in the next 1 or 2 days along with the onboarding documents to all the issuers, so that your user ID can get activated and you can start using the system. And for the other modules, we will keep you informed on when it will go live, so that it can be used by you over a period of time. And regarding the legacy ISINs, SEBI will issue a circular which will specify by what time you have to update all the legacy information to the system, and provide a defined timeline within which issuer and DT has to complete the task. So that is all about the platform. Any questions? Lucky, we can take the questions now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Anurag, for this detailed presentation. So the issuers could actually go through the windows. So there are few questions are there which are repetitive in nature. We'll take that first, and then
Yeah.
few questions we will try to update on our website as an FAQs. So first is, of course, whether the presentations will be available or sent to the participant. So mostly entire presentation and recording will be updated on our website. So issuers and any concerned parties can check it from the our website. Second part is there any specific DSC required for the validation?
Yes, for the issuer checker and DT checker, their DSC will be required to be used, because that will be used to sign the information and the documents into the system, so that a proper audit trail will be there into the system.
So is there any specific class 2, class 3 with kind of
So
DSC
currently, if you
required?
look at, I think class 2 has already stopped by, has been stopped by the
Only
government.
class 3 will
Only
be.
class 3 is available. But we are not stopping class 2 to be used, because if somebody else is having a class 2 from, say, they have issued before the closure of the class 2. So we'll be allowing them to be used. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question, multiple time is being asked with respect to, for a particular ISIN, how they can be able to attach multiple assets.
So yeah, so multiple assets can be created in the system the way I have shown it to you. So once when you start mapping asset with the ISIN, you can select the asset ID. You can just link those asset ID with the ISIN. You can select 10 asset ID, 20 asset ID, and with the same ISIN. That can be possible.
And is there provision in the system for book dates, receivables? Because that is also
Yes,
question
yes,
asked repeatedly.
yes. So it is under the current assets. You can select income receivables, and you can add your book debts into it and move ahead.
So most of the questions are of this nature only, and there are few
Yeah.
questions what we can do considering the time constraints. We will try to consolidate them and then get the answers and put some kind of FAQs on the systems. And one again repetitive question is, will there be any separate guidelines or operational guidelines how to operate the will be issued by the depositories?
Yes, so we are releasing two things. One is operating guidelines. Second is we are also releasing the user manual, which will be shared with all the users to provide the guidance on how to use the platform. And they can directly reach out to us, and we will be having a dedicated set of people who will be supporting the issuers for the usage, so that they can understand and how to use it.
So currently the issuers have to approach the depositories for login ID and password, and then they will be getting the
Yes. So we are issuing us a communication to all the issuers from our side in a day or two, along with the documentation process, so that they can follow the same guidelines and submit it to us. Signed
And
documents.
few of the debenture holders or the investors have also joined this seminar, and they're asking whether the platform will be available only to the intermediaries themselves, or it will be available to general public
this
as
is
well.
just a nascent platform. It will evolve over a period of time. We're expecting the whole process to be completed in the next 3 to 4 months, and post which the access will be provided to the investor also, based on in consultation with SEBI, that what information needs to be disclosed to the investors, and investor can able to log in and see those information.
So I'll just check through once the Q&A where we can ask.
Yes.
So the download option will be available for both Annexure A and Annexure B2 issuers, right?
Yes.
And in case of a pari passu charge or that kind of consider, so can issuers will be able to map a single asset to multiple ISINs?
Yes, that functionality is there. If the asset is pari passu charge earlier, so they can they can create the same asset, and they can map with the multiple ISIN if the asset is having a residual value which is more than their issue size.
Okay. So these are the most repetitive questions, and there are few. Like it's very glad that participants have been very interactive, and there are multiple questions are there in the chat box. But then considering the time and everything, we will try to consolidate all the questions where your help is required. We will share those with
Sure.
you.
Or if you can directly reach out to me, I'm happy to help to provide a clarification.
Definitely. So thank you so much, Anurag, for this
Thank you, Rakhi.
participation
Thank you, everyone.
with us. So I hope that this effort from Catalyst has helped few of you, and you, once the presentation is updated on our website, I'll request you can share as many as with your issuers and who requires this information. Thank you so much everyone for participating. Thank you so much.
हाँ,